Hello, good afternoon. It's 4 p.m. and that means you're live with Colin Chive. I hope wherever you are and whatever you're doing, you're having a wonderful Wednesday. Today's talking point: a new restaurant opening this Friday on the Alma Leisure Park. It's called Nando's Chicken. They've been taking the country by storm and now they've come to Chesterfield. We want to hear your thoughts to get those opinions warmed up like a lovely piri-piri breast. Ooh. Also on today's show, the curse of commuters. Potholes on Newbold Road. Local residents have been complaining for months that the council have failed to act. We'll be taking their calls a little later on, so listen out for that. Morrison's extends its opening hours, and the rumoured merging of constituencies between Chesterfield and Sheffield. But first, it's time to check in with our resident historian. It's Out and About with Kevin Trout, recently divorced.
Today you join me standing upon the freshly laid paving of Chesterfield's bustling centre of commerce, Vicar Lane. Redeveloped in the year 2000 Anno Domini, Vicar Lane Shopping Centre benefits from a range of popular high street retailers and its own multi-storey car park. The centre features brands such as Argos, Waterstones, Poundland, Superdrug, Holland and Barrett, Clinton Cards, New Look, and those providing services. Chesterfield has always had a rich history of thriving trade and transaction. Picture, if you will, this very same street 150 years ago. The scene now, quite different. The sound of horse and cart rumbling over the cobblestone. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The delightful sounds of bonhomie as joyous children skip through the streets with nought but hoop and stick. Amid the chatter of the humble townsfolk, a cry penetrates the hullabaloo. Chestnuts! Roasted chestnuts! Hepney a bag! Gentlemen bidding one another good morrow, as their lady companions, quite radiant, peruse the market stalls neath their elegant parasols for coats and shoes and, oh, perhaps these fine lace gloves. Oh yes, these are certain to impress at Lady Constance Smythe's afternoon tea. But oh my, what's this? A mere 20 paces across the cobblestone, and yet 1,000,000 miles away. A young wench, barely a day above 15, she lingers in the doorway of a lowly dwelling, her wavy auburn locks tumbling down over her soft, budding breasts. Collar and cuffs, one can imagine. Her slender frame, while intoxicating in its own right, reveals a darker truth. The look in her eyes betrays a hunger and desperation. She must ensnare a client if she is to pay her due rent to Madame Bradbury. Try and try as she might to entice the suitors before her, it is to no avail. None pay mind to this poor unfortunate. But wait, who's this, approaching over my right shoulder? Why, it's a strapping young lad, fresh from the coal pits. His clothes exuding the pungent odour of peat and sweat. his coin, hard-earned from a day's work, grasped tightly in his palm. And my, he is ravenous. But what, pray tell, shall sate his appetite this eve? A drop of ale, perhaps? He peers through the frosted window of the local tavern, observing his mining companions, merrily glugging the sweet amber nectar as they regale one another with stories of times long since past. No, he thinks to himself, not this night. A meat pie, maybe, from the bakery down the lane. Surely this would suffice. Again, no. He turns and casts his gaze across the street, searching, longing for the remedy to douse this insatiable fever. And then he sees her. He strides swiftly across the cobblestone, his member already stirring beneath his breeches. Arriving, he leans in and whispers delicately in her ear, "Hey up, missus, how much for thar tuppence?" Her response, non-verbal, a wry smile as she beckons him to follow her upstairs and into her boudoir. But he is too eager to relieve his burgeoning load. He grasps her tightly by the wrist and pulls her into the conjoining alleyway, disappointing her somewhat, as a room costs extra. "Wouldn't thou prefer the comfort of a warm bed?" she says. "Never mind that, woman, me plums are fit to burst." He turns her around and yanks her petticoat high, her face now pressed harshly against the cold brick. He unleashes his throbbing vehicle, which he thrusts thusly into her velveteen tulip. "Oh!" he groans deeply. "That's right good." To which she, ever the professional, responds in kind. Spurred on by her encouragement, the lad gains momentum, his turgid testicle slapping against her buttocks like mother beating father's shirts upon the washing line. But then, as quickly as their confluence began, he feels an exquisite rush of ecstasy shoot through his stringent shaft, and he erupts, depositing his hot, pearly emission inside of her moist, inviting cavern. "Tar duck," he gasps in between breaths. Satisfied and spent, he staggers out of the alleyway, tossing his coin at her feet. Her virtue dismantled for the price of but a shilling. And still he is given pause. Upon the entrance of this alleyway, where this carnal act began, he stops and he turns. He thinks to himself, maybe this time an honest woman I might make. No, not this time, Thomas. Not this time.
The fuck was that? Yeah, I love that tune. Classic, absolute classic. Oh, always, it's a mainstay on my iPod. Don't know about you guys, but absolutely love it. But that brings us to the time you've all been waiting for. It's time for the caller call-in. Caller, you're on the air. What's your name?
Martin.
You had a Nando's before?
Yeah.
Any good?
Yeah.
Thanks for calling, mate. Caller, you're on the air. Who are you?
Gary,
Thoughts on the new Nando's?
I think it's good.
Thanks for calling. Caller, you're on the air.
Jeffrey Track 9.
Okay. Good afternoon, Jeffrey. What's your opinion on all this?
First time listener, long time caller. What did you say?
I said, what's your opinion on all this?
Oh, this what?
All this new Nando's.
Oh, it's all genetically modified crop. Does the GMO chemtrail chickens to turn us into gays. That's why I make all my own food from things I've foraged out at bins.
Okay. About the new Nando's.
Well, actually, Brenda, my carer, makes most of it, but I don't fucking trust her. I keeps my beady little eye on her. Me good eye, anyway. She over stuffed over there making me Becky beans. I says to her, what's that in your fucking hand? What's that in that bottle? You're trying to poison me, you're trying to kill me to get your grubby little hands on me sugar puffs. She says, it's your prescription, Mr. Track 9. The doctor says you got to take your pills. You know what happens when you don't take your tablets. I says, get that fucking shit away from them bakey beans. She puts them up high so I can't reach them. I'd smack around chops if I could, but I can't 'cause of the wheelchair. And I've not got the reach of her, Mr. Tickle. I tell you, it's that rear window in this house. And not just 'cause I spy on neighbours through telescope.
Right. So the new Nando's...
Well, it's not a telescope, really. It's just an old copy of Woman's Weekly. Brenda leaves them here all the time. I just rolls it up and take my readers to end. It don't really work, but I can imagine. You got to keep an eye on your neighbours these days, 'cause you never know who you're living next door to.
Yeah, but...
It could be a mental. Or a jihadi.
Okay.
I'm in the neighbourhood watch that. Not anymore, 'cause they banned me.
Look, I'm really sorry, Jeffrey. We're going to have to cut you off
Don't you
there.
fucking...
Always a lively discussion on the Colin Chive show. That's what we're known for. We do apologise to anyone that was a little bit offended by some of the language used in the last segment there. It is live radio, after all. We do our best to vet the callers, but you can't win every time, especially when it's live, so... Speaking of live radio, we now go to our junior reporter live in the field, Mr. Tim Beesdale.
Yeah, thank you, Colin.
With a breaking news update. We've been getting reports of a loud bang around the Lownsley Green area, and we're not sure what it is.
Yeah, thank you, Colin. We've been getting reports of a loud bang around the Lownsley Green area. We're not sure what it is. We're here to find out. With us now is eyewitness, an innocent bystander, Mr. Clive Bystander.
Hello, and can I just say to Mr. Chive, my wife Carol and I are both huge fans of the show. We simply never miss it.
Oh, well, that's very much appreciated, Clive. Always nice to hear from a fan.
Yes, we find Colin's sultry tones and easy listening approach to radio the perfect complement to our afternoon lovemaking, and also gives us a chance to check the weather.
Okay.
Clive, can you tell us anything about what you heard?
It'd be my pleasure, Stephen.
It's Tim.
Well, it was about 35 minutes ago. I was upstairs in my humble abode with the old ball and chain, as well as my aforementioned wife Carol, and we were indulging in our marital obligations. Colin was on the hi-fi, everything was going swimmingly, we were having a scorcher of a time. When all of a sudden, Carol flips over onto her back and says, Jesus Christ, Clive, what the bloody hell was that? I withdrew my member, detached myself from the official JML sex swing apparatus, and scooched my way over to the windowsill. Opening the window, I felt the cool summer breeze on my bare arse. Sorry to say, couldn't hear a thing. Carol said, never mind that, Clive, get back to the task at hand. I scooched my way back over to her. By this point Colin was playing status quo, giving a little bit of extra oomph, but I'm not ashamed to admit I was well and truly off my stroke, and climax has had to be postponed until tomorrow.
And, did you hear a loud bang?
No, I didn't.
Back to you in the studio. Yep, thanks for that, Tim. More on that story as it develops, although I dare say we've heard enough. And from all of us here in the studio, congratulations on your GCSE results. You certainly did your best. Still to come on the show, Councilman Barry Rollett will be joining us live in the studio to discuss the potholes on Newbold Road. We'll also be taking your calls, so get ready to fill us in. But first, here's Jamiroquai with Deeper Underground.
Well, the point of the group, Colin, is to act as a support network for those who have either been widowed or lost family members due to these terrible events, or in the very least have had loved ones who've been severely injured in these factories. And all we're trying to do is to raise awareness of the quite frankly astonishing lack of health and safety standards in these types of working environments. I mean, this isn't the 19th century. These sorts of incidents just shouldn't be happening nowadays. And if the proper procedures had been in place, my husband would still be alive today. And I'll tell you something, Colin. My Simon worked in that factory for over 30 years, and I'm sorry. This is very hard for me. Next week would have been our 40th anniversary.
Potholes! It's time for the caller call-in. Thanks very much for that discussion there, Karen. Best of luck with the bake sale. Caller, you're on the air. Who are you?
Martin?
Have you had problems with the potholes, mate?
Yeah.
Not good, is it?
No.
Caller, you're on the air. Who are you?
Jeffy Trackner!
Caller, you're on the air. Who are you?
Carl.
You had problems with the potholes, mate?
Aye, I was going down that road the other day in van, right? I don't fishing tackle him back. Hit pothole, bloody van swerves out of control, right? Knock over a bloody cyclist. Bike goes under front tyres, cyclist over bonnet, spilled me soup and all.
Oh my god. What kind of soup?
Carrot and coriander.
Oh, that's a shame. Caller, you're on the air. Who are you?
My friend fell down a pothole and disappeared.
Oh, that's a shame. Caller, you're on the air. Who are you?
I want to hear more from that sexy widow.
And that's the end of the call-in. Thank you. That was AC/DC with their all-time rock and roll classic, Highway to Hell. Speaking of which, joining me now in the studio to discuss the pothole crisis is Councilman Barry Rollett. Barry, hello.
Good afternoon, Colin. It's a pleasure to be here.
Are you a fan of the show?
I've heard it.
Right. So, you know why you're here, Councilman. Newbold Road. There's potholes down there the size of Birmingham. What are you doing to fix it?
Well, you see, this is just another example of the kind of exaggerations we're seeing regarding this. While we are happy to admit that there are indeed certain issues pertaining to the overall smoothness and quality of the asphalt on Newbold Road, I certainly don't think these potholes are the size of Birmingham. It's just more exacerbation of the town's hysteria, and we all know how prone Chesterfield is to hysteria. Well, especially since the well-dressing.
Well, I'm sorry, Councilman. I don't think it is an exaggeration. My listeners are deeply concerned about this, almost as deep as the potholes themselves. Yeah. And I wonder, as you say you have heard the show, I wonder, Councilman, if you heard about 10 minutes ago when Carl rang in and told the whole world about his van and his fishing tackle and the mow-down cyclist and his soup.
Yes, I did hear that, and don't you worry, I've certainly not forgotten about the carrot and coriander. I also want to assure you, Colin, and your listeners, that I have personally visited the cyclist in question at the Royal Hospital just this past week.
Oh, so they're all right?
They're alive. But, you see, the thing to remember, Colin, is that money doesn't grow on trees. We're living in a very difficult time right now, economically speaking, and that means that overall, the purse strings just have to be a little tighter these days. Believe me, if we could just hand out money to every Tom, Dick and Harry who asked, we'd certainly consider holding a debate about it. But that's just not reality, I'm afraid.
See, you say that, Councilman, but what about the big Ferris wheel you've just put up in the market? That can't have been cheap.
The giant observation wheel was not funded via the council and was erected at zero cost to the taxpayer.
The new Nando's?
Nando's Chicken is a private business. Again, absolutely nothing to do with taxpayer money.
The ProAct Stadium, big football ground. Must have cost a penny or two.
It was almost 10 years ago. Look, Colin, I think I know what's going on here, right? This is just a hit piece. You're trying to make the council look bad, but I'm afraid you just haven't done your research. It's not worth...
Are you going to fix the potholes?
Colin, we can have a serious adult discussion about this, but I'm afraid...
Are you going to fix the potholes?
No.
Councilman, thank you for joining us. Okay, it's almost 8 PM and that means it's almost time for me to go. I want to thank some of you for calling in today. It's been a great show. I hope to hear from you all again tomorrow. Same place, same time, same station. That's 4 PM live with Colin Chive. Just a word of warning, if you are out there tonight, do be careful, as the Beast of Brimington is still at large. But on a cheerier note, here to take you through the night, it's the always upbeat, the delightfully positive, it's Ian Pringle. This is the jingle.
Ian Pringle.
He's always single.
He's Ian Pringle.
Please do not mingle.
With Ian Pringle.
He loves this jingle. Here's Ian Pringle.
Never gets old, that jingle. For those of you who don't know, that was written, produced and partially performed by my colleague Colin Chive, also the man who presses play every single night. Anyway, we should get on with the show. That's why you're here. Or maybe not. Maybe you just left the radio on while you went to empty the bins. Now you're back. You've not even noticed it's still going. Maybe at some point you were deliberately listening, but that time has long since passed. Now it's just background noise, something you can ignore. wouldn't even notice if someone switched it off. This is Through the Night with Ian Pringle. Let's take a call. Who are you?
Hi Ian, I'm Dan.
What do you want?
Oh, big question that, Ian. What does anyone want in life,
What-
eh?
What are you doing?
Well, at the minute, just in cab having a coffee and services. On my way up to Aberdeen. Got a load of frozen chickens, need delivering by 8 a.m, you see.
That's what you do with your life, is it?
Yep, long distance truck driver. Mainly through the nights, you know, on these long jobs like. But I've got you to keep me company, haven't I, Ian? I love the tunes you play, upbeat and chirpy. Helps you keep awake like. Well, that and the coffee.
Important that, isn't it, Dan?
Oh, I don't want to fall asleep. Not behind the wheel of one of these things.
No. We don't want that, do we, Dan? But it's easily done.
Oh, that happens more often than you'd think.
Do you ever think about it, Dan?
About what?
About just closing your eyes? Letting yourself sink down into that soft, deep slumber.
Well,
Be so easy, you wouldn't even feel it. A few moments, that's all it would take. You'd be gone. Your hands slipping from the wheel. The truck swerving over one lane, and then two, and then careening over the side and down into that dark abyss. Maybe at this point you'd wake up, frantically searching for the handle, trying to claw your way out of this steel coffin of your own making. Or maybe you wouldn't. Maybe you'd just sit there as the cold water streamed into the cabin, the water level rising rapidly, and you just closing your eyes and slipping away. So easy. Any requests, Dan?
no. No, you're alright, Ian.
Here's Katrina and the Waves, Walking on Sunshine.